Kia ora, kofu smithaho. Ngā mai ki te whare, welcome to the House. When MPs return to Parliament after a break, there is often a backlog of events that vie for attention and that might need addressing. They might be the aftermath of news stories, policy announcements, scandals, or attention-seeking stunts. Sometimes it's all just a political joust, but on occasion the Speaker will get dragged in as well, because they are the arbiter of the rules, Parliament's landlord, and the head of the legislative branch of government. Now, some weeks it can be hard to guess what will capture MPs' attention.
Honourable members, on Monday, the Honourable David Seymour drove a vehicle onto the steps of Parliament. He stopped when a security officer intervened. I commend that officer for his actions.
Other weeks it's more obvious. A previous attempt to drive a vehicle up Parliament's front steps led to a criminal charge, but it also garnered enormous attention, and some lessons are easier to remember than others.
I doubt he would have ever expected to have to tell a member of the House not to drive a vehicle onto the steps of the building, particularly given that it was a repeat of the 2003 event, and in light of the enhanced security arrangements that Parliament has since put in place.
You certainly might have thought so. You might also wonder exactly what punishment might ensue for clowning around on the front steps in front of an invited audience. Well, there are 4 or 5 layers of rules and penalties that could apply here, so let's outline them. Parliament's got its own rules, called the standing orders. The Speaker is their arbiter, or for more serious ones, decides whether there is a case to answer.
In consideration of this matter, it's clear there are no standing orders that could reasonably support a referral to the Privileges Committee. I've expressed to Mr Seymour my strong displeasure at his actions and my concern at his belief that MPs should be able to do what he did is of right. They do not.
The Speaker, Jerry Brownlee, is correct. The standing orders don't really cover MPs' misbehaviour unless it occurs inside the chamber or in a select committee. So if you manage to drive all the way up the steps, through the doors, through the Great Hall and into the chamber while it is sitting, that would be a breach. But then that would be a lot of things, and a breach of privilege might be the least of them. So the standing orders do not apply here, but they're not the only rules. MPs do also, since very recently, have a code of conduct. But that code was written to address problems with the bullying of staff, sexual harassment, inappropriate relationships, and so on. Dumb driving isn't really its remit. What else is there? When Shane Ardern got a lot further up the steps on a tractor in 2003 and looked like he might just tumble back down onto those below, he was charged by the police.
The question of possible prosecution, as was the case in 2003, is a matter for the police and not in the hands of the Speaker.
The charge police landed on was disorderly behaviour, and that was eventually dropped. By the way, even if the police got very serious and David Seymour was found guilty of, say, dangerous driving, he would not lose his job. MPs lose their seats if they're convicted of a crime with a prison sentence potentially exceeding 2 years. Dangerous driving tops out at 3 months, and all of that seems unlikely. As a minister, Seymour is also bound by yet another set of rules, the Cabinet Manual. It includes a code of conduct for ministers, with the expectations of both personal and official actions like this one. Ministers are expected to act lawfully and behave in a way that upholds and is seen to uphold the highest ethical and behavioural standards. The arbiter of these rules is the Prime Minister, which is why this topic also came up in question time. Here's Chris Hipkins to Christopher Luxon.
Does he stand by his comment that David Seymour has not breached the Cabinet Manual, given the Cabinet Manual says that ministers must conduct themselves in a manner appropriate to their office, are expected to act lawfully, and are seen to uphold the highest ethical and behavioural standards, including good judgment, given recent revelations that David Seymour intervened in a police murder investigation, referred a sexual abuse survivor to an ACT Party lawyer rather than to the police, and just yesterday potentially illegally attempted to drive a Land Rover up the front steps of Parliament?
Yes.
Supplementary question, Mr Speaker. Is he therefore confident that driving a Land Rover up the front steps of Parliament is a lawful activity?
Ultimately, that's a decision for the Speaker, and he's addressed that today.
The Prime Minister was appearing to struggle slightly with the difference between Parliament's standing orders and New Zealand law. Only one of those is administered by the Speaker. Either way, it seems that Mr Seymour is not under threat from those rules either. There is one final court that can get involved in an MP's antics, but only if the jury has a very long memory. The Court of Public Opinion, i.e. elections.
My own view is that the public will make their own determination about the appropriateness or otherwise of the action, and that's something that all of us can remove ourselves from if we wish, but in the end the public makes that judgment and is often a lot more harsh than we might be.
This is the court that MPs sometimes fear the most, but ironically it's the exact same group of people that MPs are looking to impress when they engage in attention-seeking stunts. You've been listening to The House. E te whakaranga koe ki te whare. This program is produced with funding from Parliament's Office of the Clerk. Mā te wā.